Hi, welcome to the curriculum collaboration for mathematics, second grade, third 6 weeks, beginning December 7th to January 29th. We'll be going over some standards in the 6 weeks, some misconceptions, previous learning assessments, and other additional and pertinent information for you for this time period. Thank you for being with us tonight, and we'll get it over quickly. So for second grade, we have four main resources for you to be using: the strategies for implementing guided math, the hands-on standards, engaging mathematics, and then Origo. And all of these can be found online and or on campus. The binder is a hard copy on your campus. Hands-on standards is a hard copy on campus and a digital version online. Engaging mathematics, it too is a hard copy and found online. And then Origo is all online except for your student pages. Within this unit, you're going to be going over, within the 6 weeks, going over the very end of the adding and subtracting with algorithms from Unit 3. We'll be going over fractions in Unit 4 and beginning time with Unit 5. And again, it is December 7th to January 29th. The first portion, Unit 3, addition subtraction with algorithms, it'll last until December 27th. So you have 2 to 3 weeks additionally to work on this. And again, it's just basic facts, recalling two or adding two 4-digit numbers, subtracting 2-digit numbers, mental strategies. Place value is imperative, understanding that numbers are a sum of hundreds or a sum of tens or a sum of ones. Solving 1 and 2 steps, with addition up to 1,000, variety of strategies, generating and solving those problem situations, and determining about a value of a collection of coins. We have our academic vocabulary right there and some prior learnings. I won't spend too much time on this because you've been working on it already, but that is the very end of Unit 3. Additional essential questions can be strategies and patterns. What do you see when you're adding those addition and subtraction facts? Or when you're solving those addition and subtraction facts? When subtracting two non-zero whole numbers, why is the sum always greater than each of the add-ins? And then when subtracting two non-zero whole numbers, why is the minuend greater than the subtrahend, and why is the difference always less than the minuend? For us in second grade, third, fourth, and into fifth, that is a true statement, making sure students understand that when they get to middle school, that won't be a true statement as we can add and subtract negative numbers. Additionally, some concepts they're still working on are that they may not recognize the difference between addition and subtraction situations. And this is where we start getting into that disciplinary literacy for mathematics. For us, it's very much akin to the problem solving context. When reading a word problem or situation, as mathematicians, we need to be looking at what is the problem asking us, what parts do we understand, and what is the operation of that sentence, and how can we figure that out. And that's imperative for students as they're still developing that. They may also view addition and subtraction as discrete and separate, and not as inverse relationships when they are. And that's one of those other pieces that we need to be helping students understand the inverse of those two. Understanding the inverse between addition and subtraction is going to be great for us because towards the end of second grade and definitely to third grade, we start developing that inverse relationship or that relationship between addition and multiplication. And then you have many misconceptions that students may still have, and you're free to read those on your own. Unit 4, fractions, where we'll be starting this right in the middle of our third 6 weeks. So content standards could be 2-3A, partitioning objects into equal parts and naming the parts now with words, not with the fractions. So we're using halves, the actual word, fourth, eighths, and if you need to, or if you wanted to, or students are able to, maybe even sixths. Explaining, 2-3B, explaining the more fractional parts you use to make a whole, the smaller the part, and the fewer the fractional parts, the larger the part. It's almost that opposite understanding. 2-3C, concrete models to count those parts. And 2-3D, identifying examples and non-examples. This is one of those important ones as we get to third and fourth grade and we have the STAR test. Students need to understand that just because an object is partitioned into thirds, if those partition pieces aren't equal, well, then it's not really a good fraction, an example of that fraction. Understanding those examples and non-examples. In first grade, students partitioned two-dimensional figures into 2 and 4 fair shares or equal parts, and then they described examples and non-examples of halves and fourths. This year, we're introducing those eighth pieces. And so vocabulary could be decomposing figures, equal parts, fraction, partition, two-dimensional figures, eighths, fourths, halves, quarters, unequal parts, and whole. Essential questions for fractions in second grade could be, why is it important to be able to identify or work with fractional parts? Why is it important to determine the unit or the whole when working with fractions? Why does changing the size of the whole affect the size or amount of the fractional partition? Um, da, da, da. Why are the names of fractional parts determined, or how are they determined? What patterns exist when counting? And then again, what strategies can be used to determine if the resulting parts of a decomposed 2D figure or shape are actual fractional partitions? Some developing concepts for fractions are that students are still developing that spatial visualization skill, the manipulation of mental representations of shapes, direct comparisons of parts to whole, counting those fractional parts, and then understanding that one part is a part of an original whole. And then again, we have a list of misconceptions when it comes to fractions for kids. The unit 5 will be time towards the very end, and we're going to be starting the beginning of that with second grade. And so for us, the standard would be 29G, reading and writing time to the nearest 1 minute increment using analog and digital clocks, and then distinguishing between AM and PM. And so vocabulary would be an analog clock, hour hand, minute hand, clock at the face of the clock, clockwise, increment, interval, digital clock, AM, PM, noon, and midnight. And in first grade, our students were telling time to the hour and half hour using both analog and digital. So now we have to the nearest 1 minute increment. And so understanding that next level of telling time. Some essential questions would be, how can time be described as a measurement? This might be one of those important pieces to bring out something linear like a yardstick or a tape measure or something to help students understand that it just sort of repeats in a circle, but it's very much linear. Why is it important to tell time? What situations might someone need to tell time? The units of measurement, and then again, what relationships exist between 1 minute, 1 hour, 15 minutes and 1 hour, 30 minutes, 1 hour, and 60 minutes and 1 hour. We're starting to develop that conversion of time between minutes and hours. What distinguishes AM from PM? How can we estimate the time of day? What patterns exist as continuous nature of time? And then also an additional skill would be for students to understand and be able to plot maybe on a schedule when we do things PM, when we do things AM. If it's 7 a.m., we probably eat breakfast, where if it's 7 p.m., we're probably taking a shower, getting ready for bed. Things like that. Some developing concepts would be that students are still, or they may still confuse the hour hand and the minute hand, understanding which one, the big one, the small one, the face, and things like that. And some may struggle reading the o'clock numerically as the colon, or I'm sorry, on a digital display. 12 o'clock may be recorded as 12, 102, 12, etc. Understanding how to represent time in a various formats will be difficult for kids. And then some misconceptions is that they may think that the numeral closest to the hour hand names the hour, rather than the numeral that the hour hand has passed. And so it's 1 o'clock until it passes the one, then it goes into two. It's always within that 60-minute frame. Some students may think that a day consists of one full 12-hour rotation rather than that it consists of two full 12-hour rotations. Some may think that noon is 12 a.m. because it's light outside and noon p.m. is dark. They may think that since half an hour is halfway around the clock, then half of an hour is 12 6 minutes rather than 30 minutes. And we need kids understand that it's half of an hour, which is 30 minutes, not half of 12, which is 6. Some resources for you to be using are your curriculum frameworks. We have an instructional calendar, scope and sequences, and unit guides. We have your Origo, Hansel Standards, Path Blazers, and Engaging Mathematics. And if for whatever reason you need copies of those, you can go to the digital resource folder, bit.ly LM Resources. For those of us who have finished, or we should all be finished with testing and starting to implement Path Blazer in our classrooms regularly, you should have already attended a webinar. And if you have, or if you need additional support and assistance from PathBlazer, you can speak with Haley Wallace during her open office hours. If you have not received the document with links for that already, you can find that at our FWISD Math Google site. Go through the actual website for departments on our homepage, and in the left column, it'll say Google site, and then you click that. It'll be the very homepage right there, or you can go directly to bit.ly FWISD Math, and it'll take you to the website right then and there. As always, if you're needing assistance with Origo, Path Blazers, or anything related to math, be sure to reach out to your regional coordinator first. So if you're in Region 1, that'll be me, John Reed. Region 2, you'll have Adam Gutierrez. Region 3, you'll have Mrs. Kenyelle Carr. And then Region 4, you'll have Mrs. Lowana Jones. Thank you for being with us tonight. We'll be working with you soon, and hopefully you got all you needed out of this training. Thank you.